Hi, I'm Mark, and it's the 23rd of June 2016. And would you like to bear with me in a little imagining for a moment? Imagine that the universe and all that exists and all that doesn't exist decided to play a little game of pretend. Once upon a time, believing itself to be a little chubby boy called Mark. Which seemed like a fun game. But with that little boy called Mark, that little chubby boy called Mark, that little oversensitive boy called Mark, very quickly came a sense of lack. A sense of self, and a sense of self that was in competition with the rest of the world, and that had pain. And then what happened from there was a seeking to lose this sense of lack. And eventually a looking at what is this lack and what are these beliefs in this little individual called Mark, bit chubby. Well, when that illusion is seen through, what has always been the case behind that appearance becomes clear. That individual has always been illusory. And two things happen here. One, at the same time. One is like one becomes a liberatee, and at the same time one becomes a recovering selfaholic. The liberatee seems to have happened full stop. But the recovering selfaholic is a life's work, a life's path. As the implications of what have been seen are allowed to filter down through and percolate all the parts. It's a bit like having been to the solicitors and signed for the title deed of my house. Yippee, I'm the owner of a house. Yay, I'm a house owner, I'm a proprietor. But that's not the same as going to that house, moving in, and taking over each room one by one. One could, in fact, never take occupation of that house and just believe, way, I've got a house, hooray. Or one could just go into the front living room and say, well, this is reasonably clean, I'll live here. Or one could go into that sort of back room, which is rather grubby with the old-fashioned wallpaper, and so, oh, time to kind of take this off and make it into stuff that I would like in my house. And maybe even in that upstairs bedroom where the roof had started to leak and it was rather disgusting and it really needs a lot of looking at. And the same with our life. It's really the work of recovering selfaholic. It depends on how much curiosity there is and how much interest there is to embody fully this seeing of what only always was ever the case. It's possible to get stuck with various selfing addictions. With me, there was an addiction to a certain amount of drama and feeling poor me and anxiety, for example. But these could take the forms of, and I overate, and I ate for comfort, I ate for solace. But this can also take the form of alcoholism, drug addiction, shopping, lots of ways to try to get alleviate this feeling of lack. Even what is called spiritual seeking can be its own addiction. I remember that when I started to learn the piano, and music's always been a big part of my life, and making music, not only listening to it. When I started to learn the piano and the cello, I got fascinated with music shops and going and smelling the instruments and hearing the click of wind instruments with their mechanisms, and the smell of cellos and violins, and seeing the action inside the piano. But that's not music. That's the paraphernalia of music. If I was going to stay around those things, that's never going to make music for me. I need to actually start playing. When I went through a Christian phase in my life, which was a very kind of important and had some meaningful things happen for me there in terms of presence and seeing through some aspect of the self as it had been understood before. But at the beginning, I started to become interested in Christian bookshops and books and bookmarks and little doves that you might put on your lapel, and little crosses and little quotations from the Bible and tapes and all. But these are the paraphernalia. They aren't the thing itself. A bit like if you go to the beach and you get caught up in the beach shop. Oh, I want that inflatable dinghy. Oh, we'll have that ball. We'll have those rackets. Oh, we'll have the shuttlecock. We'll play on the beach. And you could, but that's not the beach. That's not the sea. That's the paraphernalia. What people do around going to the seaside. That is not that lovely feeling of being on the beach and having your feet in the sea. That is paraphernalia. But this is what can happen over the search. The seeing through the illusion can get hooked up. We can get hooked up on the speakers, the authors, the phrases, the meetings, the retreats, the presentations, the vases of flowers, the atmosphere, the hairdo, the tone of voice. We can get hooked on the person that was the pointer for us. A bit like if you're going to the seaside, hanging around the sign that says beach that way, standing by the sign, yeah, beach, even paying, I'll pay to be by the sign, yeah, this is it, beach, you're saying beach. It's not even the words. You see, the words aren't it. The instruments aren't the music. The books aren't the Christianity. And the beach ball is not the beach experience. It's so easy to get hooked on the paraphernalia of looking and not actually look. Easy to get hooked on the person who you hear this from, like a life belt. We're reaching out for something else from this life belt that will take us there. So all addictions, in a sense, bear with me while I tell you this imaginary story, all addictions are reaching out for something. Even the selfaholic is reaching out for others to complete this self. Someone to understand, to help poor me, or if I'm somebody who's very self-important, somebody to follow this important me and to keep me feeling important by following me and agreeing with me. But the real answer is not in the life belt. The real answer is not even in these words, not even in this presentation. The answer really is much, much closer than that. The answer is already here.